In 1966, after killing his mother and wife, Whitman climbed to the top of the University of Texas Bell Tower. A 96-minute indiscriminate design began. He was a model Boy Scout and a polite boy next door. He wrote in his suicide note, "I can't really understand myself. I've been having a lot of unusual, violent thoughts lately. I beg to have my brain dissected." The medical examiner complied with his wishes. A tumor was found near the lobe and limbic system of his brain. This discovery appears to provide a cold biological explanation for the atrocities. A broken brain creates a demon that perfectly appeals to our intuition. Malice stems from abnormal individuals. But the truth is far from that simple. In 1951, Solomon Assey asked a subject to sit with 7 subjects. Let's judge the short lengths of several lines together. Everything is normal in the first few rounds. But at the beginning of the 3rd round, all the trustees pointed at an obvious line in unison. Shorter line segment insists that it is as long as the standard line. The only real subject was sweating profusely. Ultimately, in more than 1/3 of the cases, the subjects gave up. Facts seen with one's own eyes, choosing the wrong answer that agrees with the group. When asked why, they admitted they just didn't want to look out of place. As he wrote from this, one of the most worrying facts of our time is that intelligence, a kind-hearted young man is willing to be called a black man. If we talk about his experiment, it's just for people to accuse a deer of being a horse while talking about huge amounts of money. So his student Milgram, he pushed Bass directly to the age of murder 1961. Milgram recruits a group of ordinary citizens. Let them play the role of teachers. The task is to be next door. When a student answers a question incorrectly, apply a motor to the student. Voltage starts from 15 volts for a slight motor, so enhanced up to the lethal motor of 450 volts. At the beginning of the experiment, students frequently gave wrong answers. There were screams from next door, and at 150 volts, students began to plead to stop, and claim that he had a heart disease. At 300 volts, the student starts punching the wall and refuses to answer. After 330 volts, the next door fell into dead silence. Although many teachers suffered greatly during this process, I begged the researchers to stop the experiment, but the researchers just used cold. Repeat these 4 sentences in an emotionals tone. Please continue. The experiment requires you to continue. You must continue. You have no choice. The result shattered people's naive illusions about human nature. Up to 65% of participants obeyed the command and pressed up to 450 voltage switches, even if they believed they might have killed the guy next door. They don't know. The students are actors and the motor is also fake. But that intention that pushed the button and that soul that obeyed. But it's true. It turns out that an ordinary person is only separated from evil by a command you have no choice last year by Felipe Gimbaldo. This interrogation of the situation, returning to the extreme, he wants to know without group pressure and authoritative orders. After these external forces, is it enough to rely solely on an assigned role and environment from within? Make good people do evil. He built it in the basement of Stanford University, a mock prison. 24 healthy male college students were randomly divided into prisoners and prison guards. Prisoners are deprived of their names, which correspond to their numbers. The prison guards wore uniforms, sunglasses that could hide their eyes, and held tight sticks. This time, everyone still had a hint of the drama of the game, but the power of the situation. The rapid fermentation pushed everyone into the abyss of loss of control in less than 2 days. Prison guards began to torture prisoners creatively. They blew whistles in the middle of the night, confiscated the beds, and forced them to wash them by hand. Toilet for personal insult, even using fire extinguishers to spray resisting prisoners. The prisoners quickly became compliant and suppressed. Reported 36 hours later, one prisoner had a strong emotional reaction and was deputized in advance. Zimbardo himself, as prison warden, was deeply involved. He had instructed prison guards find ways to control prisoners, and acquiesced in the violence until his girlfriend Maslak came to visit on the 6th day. Shocked by what he saw, he angrily asked Gimbaldo what he had done to these boys. Gimbaldo was like a dream square and terminated the experiment overnight. Although the Stanford prison experiment was controversial, but it proves that the distance between us and evil may only be separated by a uniform. The problem isn't just bad apples, it's the one that makes any apple good. Rotten bad head. That pair of sunglasses, that unequal power structure, is a breeding ground for atrocities. The nature we thought was unbreakable is in the crucible of situation and role. Vulnerable, but the fall of human nature has not yet bottomed out. In addition to active obedience and role influence, there is a more general. Collusion psychologists asked college students to talk to each other over walkie-talkies. Chatting. A classmate in the room suddenly suffered an epileptic seizure and made painful noises. sounds of cries for help and falling to the ground. When subjects thought they were the only audience, almost everyone rushing out of the room to call for help when they thought there were 5 other bystanders. While present, only 60% took action. Those who did not act were also fidgety when they heard calls for help, but they are hesitant. Maybe others will help. In the end, collective wait-and-see lead to collective silence, and this is precisely can be an opportunity to kill a person. These experiments seem to prove we are all drawn by the threads of situations. So are we. Is there no possibility of escape? Summer camp organized by Manager Sharif gave the answer. He randomly divided 22 boys into 2 groups. Through a series of competitions, the 2 groups of boys easily became irreconcilable. Mortal enemies. Innocent children who stole from each other and insulted each other, burning the opponent's flag. Sharif then devised a series of a super mission that can only be accomplished by the 2 teams working together. The camp's water system was unexpectedly interrupted. All the boys must work together to unblock the pipes. The food truck breaks down unexpectedly and everyone must push the truck together. In fighting side by side again and again, the hostility began to melt away. Abusive boy. Start handing the kettle to the opponent who once had a fierce fight, shouting red together while pushing the cart. At the end of the command camp, the members of the 2 teams became so close that they even took the initiative to request ride the same bus home despite controversy over the experimental method. But its results are supported by subsequent research. Making enemies only requires a label for us and them, and all it takes to make friends is one common goal. 1971. Aronson brought this incident into the United States, which is rife with racial tensions. Compass, he invented the jigsaw classroom to break learning content into pieces and let children of different ethnic groups have some control over beauty and must teach each other lessons. Only by listening to each other can we piece together a complete knowledge map. In this cooperative model where you have to do it, prejudice and discrimination are quietly dismantled. Respect and friendship are slowly sprouting. It is said that situations can give birth to the flowers of evil. It can also water the fruits of good deeds. Therefore, in his later years, Philippe King will focus his research on why people become bad, turning to how people can become heroes. He believes that each of us is product of situation and creator of situation. Every stand up for injustice, every call to break the silence, every little kindness are changing the micro situations around us. And countless such micro situations, it will eventually converge into the torrent of the times and determine our world. Become a prison or a command camp. We can no longer. Enron claims, I am a good person, but I can only use action at the intersection of every situation. To become a good person, we are certainly influenced by all the past societies, this some, but it is also the starting point for all future social choices, and ultimately, define our, not who we think we are. But after seeing clearly all the fragility and weakness of human nature, we choose to be. Light a torch, or let yourself become part of the darkness.